What's up, everybody, and welcome to this live instant reaction to Ahsoka Episode 8, the season finale of Season 1 of Ahsoka, brought to you by Lucasfilm and writer-creator Dave Filoni. And tonight's episode was directed by Rick FAMUYIWA, one of my favorite directors on the Star Wars side of things, and certainly a lot of people know him initially from that film he did called Dope from many years ago, and then all the subsequent stuff that he's done ever since, certainly being a big part of the Star Wars universe. You may not know it from what you see behind me, but I am wearing a Yoda shirt. It's just all kind of greened out right now because I have the green screen behind me. So lesson learned. I didn't notice it till I was about to start. So maybe if I go to this one, you can see a little more clearly that Yoda's got his thing. Maybe if I go to this one, you can see a little more clearly. Okay, now you get an idea of Yoda there behind me. So a little bit. So there. Maybe we'll go with that one. I don't have a actual green visual image that I mean, maybe the Loki one, but we're in the wrong situation there if we're going to go with Loki. So let me swing on back to maybe how about this one? Any chance this one looks better? No. I guess we'll go back to this other one here. So my fault, y'all. My fault. I did not anticipate this situation. I guess I didn't think it through. But anyway, I'm wearing my Yoda shirt. Pretty awesome stuff here. So I'm here to hang out with you all. I am being totally transparent today. That's for sure. All right. So what a finale. I really like this finale. I don't think it was the bing, bang, boom that we got from episodes 4 through 6, but I think it did a great job of wrapping up some of the storylines that we had presented to ourselves from season 1. And it only wrapping up like, okay, that's it, except for, certain somebody. Oh, by the way, there are spoilers ahead. Please do not get it twisted. There are spoilers ahead. So if that's an issue for you, please put that down on your mantle right now. We are absolutely having spoilers ahead. Sorry about that. I got a little issues with the green screen there. Hold on. Let me mess this. All right, there we go. There are spoilers ahead, so if that's an issue for you, you should know that now. We will be spoiling everything that happened in episode 8, the season finale. You guys have been great hanging out with me for the last few weeks. We didn't do one last week because I was at a screening, but I skipped my Exorcist Believer screening tonight so that I could be here and watch that finale and hang out with you all and talk about the show and talk about episode 8 and all that we got in episode 8. And we got a lot here in episode 8 for sure. If you look at what they had set up here. God, it takes a little bit of effort there to get everything scored away. All right, here we go. Yeah, but I really did like it. And so they did a nice job of kind of finding an endpoint for all the storylines for this season while also getting us hyped up for a possible season 2 and the Dave Filoni movie, which is coming down the road. So I was afraid they were going to stumble around and not really kind of nail the landing. And I think they absolutely nailed the landing for this finale. I mean, as much as we enjoyed episodes 4 through 6, I had a feeling that episode 8 wasn't going to be like, rah, but there was so much here that was revealed. We're going to get into it and talk about it as we go along here today. But I want to remind you all to please, first of all, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell button. I am doing everything I can to get myself to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know it's a pipe dream right now at 30,400 something, but would love to get there. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that bell button below. I guarantee you'll get content almost every day from this channel that you'll enjoy and have good fun with. And one of those pieces of content is the Geek Buddies. We will be doing, I should announce this now, we will be doing a live spoiler review with the Geek Buddies tomorrow, and that's going to be a much deeper dive into this episode. So tomorrow, live at 3 p.m. PT, me, Michael Vogel, and Shannon McClung getting together to do our live spoiler review. So make sure you hang out with us. Don't miss it for sure. And of course, we'll have a Jedi Way spoiler review coming up in a couple of days, and that might have a special guest who's going to be joining us for that one. We shall see. We shall see. But yeah, tonight's is me hanging out with you all and talking about everything that we got here in this finale. The Streamlabs and the Super Chats are open. Would love for you all to send in some support as we go along. You got a question, thought, or comment, that you want me to address from the show, send them in. We'll talk about it. You guys have been great when I've done these live shows to talk about everything that's going on. So I appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight and talking about this episode 8, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Oh, you crafty bastard, Dave Filoni, you. Not the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. And I appreciated that for that title for this episode. So a lot going on here with Ezra and Sabine. They are back together with Ahsoka, and they are taking on Thrawn and Morgan Elsbeth and the Night Sisters and the Great, aka the Great Mothers. But we get some nice changes that go on in this episode here. We see Thrawn rattled. We see that Thrawn, as much as he may be this military tactician and this awesome warrior and what have you, he can be unsettled by anyone connected to Ezra. Whatever it is, Ezra has his number. Hey, every competitor's got that one person who has his number or her number, and it certainly feels like, or their number, and it certainly feels like Ezra has Thrawn's number at every step of the way here, and he certainly makes a reference to it when he's talking to Morgan, when Morgan is overconfident about their abilities to destroy the Jedi. I mean, never mind that she totally blew it, that Ahsoka was still alive and hanging out and doing whatever. She still thought that they could get the best of the Jedi, and Thrawn had to school her and be like, no, dog, I have gotten my butt handed to me by a single Jedi. So excuse me if I don't 100% agree with you. But we also saw, we also got the information of what happened between Sabine and Ahsoka. That was so interesting to hear, that it was all connected to what happened in Mandalorian season 3, the glassing of Mandalore, the death of all of the thousands of Mandalorians, including Sabine's family, and that Ahsoka was afraid that Sabine was training to become a Jedi for all the wrong reasons, out of revenge, out of anger, out of a need to exact revenge on the Empire, rather than the tenets of the Jedi, which is to inherently be peaceful, but use violence only when necessary. And so you saw that of course, Ahsoka uses violence a little more than most Jedi might do in certain situations, and that's maybe related to her master. But hearing that story here, I thought was really moving, and it kind of had shades of Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker, right? Because Luke was afraid that Ben might be turning to the dark side. According to the Rian Johnson, The Last Jedi, he turned on his lightsaber and he was going to kill Ben, and Ben freaked out and went to the dark side anyway. So Luke kind of made that happen, if you believe that telling of the story. So a lot of similarities here. And then later, Thrawn turns the tables on Ahsoka. Ahsoka worried that Sabine would be dangerous if she ever reached her full potential. Well, here's Thrawn calling Ahsoka a Ronin by the end, alluding to her master, Anakin Skywalker, and that she might walk the same path as him. So that's the first time I've kind of really dialed into this possibility that Ahsoka could go dark. Ahsoka could go Sith. I mean, it'll never happen. They kind of tease that with Rey, Dark Rey, and all of that. So I can't imagine Ahsoka would ever go that. But you have that possibility in the Sith's mind. In the Sith's mind, anyone can be turned, because if they can be turned, or sorry, the dark side's mind, anyone can be turned. And if he can be turned, Thrawn can, then so can Ahsoka. And remember, Vader was convinced that he could turn Luke through the original trilogy up until Return of the Jedi, when Luke finally pushed back and cut off his hand. So you saw that even Vader was thinking he could convince Luke. So this idea that, why do they try? Why do they try? They always try, because they turned. Why won't the person they're talking to turn? There's always a moment where they could possibly turn, right? Some people say that when you study human psychology, everyone is capable of doing anything on a bad day. So that you never know what can happen here in these situations. So I found that to be very, very interesting. We got 266 of you hanging out with me live. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. You got a million other shows you can go hang out with. So I appreciate it deeply that you're hanging out with me tonight. Let me know what you thought about everything by sending in a question, thought, or comment here on a Streamlab or Super Chat. Of course, I'll pull up the other comments as well, just to kind of talk about as we go along. Please remember to hit a like on this video. Hit that like button as well, and subscribe to the channel as well here. So let's see what we got for our first Super Chat here. Stubby Juan Kenobi says, Mortis gods in live action, Paradia prison of Abeloth, and the location of the Fountain of Knowledge pool of power. Anakin the father, Ahsoka the daughter, right? And the brother is dead. So will the brother show up in this? And I think they're referencing this moment right here. Let me take down that comment here. This moment that happened in the show. There you see that Baylan is there on the statue of the father with the fist, and apparently there was a beacon that Baylan could see in the distance from where he was standing there. So very interesting stuff there to see from Star Wars here and from Ahsoka here. So just wrong one. Just fascinating stuff that I thoroughly enjoyed seeing in this episode. So I really liked what we got there. And so interesting stuff to consider, all these things that you're talking about here with the Mortis Gods, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and very interesting. I mean, because Dathomir is where they're going by the end of the episode. And, we know that there's stuff on Dathomir that Thrawn is going to hook up with, connect to, and use in it to kind of restore his power, restore his strength, and for the Filoni movie or for season 2 of Ahsoka, or who knows where else he's going to pop up in this situation here. And the Fountain of Knowledge pool. So what will Baylan become? Will Baylan become the father? Will he become something connected to that? And maybe that's the way they kind of explain away Baylan's death or disappearance, is that he becomes part of this. And you could actually use, and I hesitate to say this because I want to make sure I say this correctly, because we're still on strike, SAG-AFTRA, and I think what he may happen for him here is that he may, go a certain way and may become a part of this. That's certainly a possibility when you look at it. I think that would be interesting to see with Baylan, and I think you get maybe some CGI. I don't want to say AI, but maybe some CGI for Baylan to possibly be involved in this. I think that would be curious to see for sure here. Let's see. We've got some Streamlabs that have come through as well. Let me read. Stan Hemphill says, loved it, but I wanted more of a reaction from the HERA Ezra reunion. 10 years, man. Quote from Gross Point Blank. Or Blank, right. A great film there with John Cusack and Jeremy Piven and Minnie Driver. 10 years, man. Yeah, it was interesting, right? Because Ezra showed up in the Stormtrooper outfit at the end, took off the helmet, and HERA reacted in a way that was kind of subdued, and maybe subdued because he's not coming back with Sabine and Ahsoka. And so remember the last that HERA had communications, she said, may the Force be with you, and sent them on their way. But here's Ezra sneaking back home off of Thrawn. I don't know how he got off of Chimera without them knowing he was in that ship. Maybe there's some kind of explanation for that, knowing how he was able to get in that ship and get out of there. I don't know how that was possible, but maybe they'll explain it. But it was nice to see Chopper be the one who recognized him, and even under the mask, just like a dog might recognize you, even if you're wearing a mask or whatever, recognize your scent. Chopper knew that was Ezra before Ezra revealed it was Ezra. So that was a nice moment. But yeah, HERA and Ezra, maybe there's a little more that could have been. But I mean, do you want to see her running across and them hugging? I think she would do that if it was animation, but this live action HERA is different. Mayor Elizabeth Winstead has kind of created a different kind of HERA, so I don't know necessarily that would work if you were to see a moment like that. But it certainly brings to life people's speculation, people's theorizing that Ezra would train Jason. So that seems to be what we're lining up here. A lot of people speculated that like 2 or 3 episodes ago. And so I thought Ezra was dying because of the whole I'm going home at the end of last week's episode. But clearly that was just a swerve. He's alive. He is on that New Republic ship there with HERA and Chopper, and clearly going to meet Jason and probably train Jason. And I think that connects up to earlier in the episode with Huyang and Ezra, when they're in there and Ezra's building that lightsaber and they're having a conversation about Kanan Jarrus, aka Caleb Doom. They're talking about him and having that conversation about what how he built his lightsaber and how Huyang taught him how to build his lightsaber. I kind of forgot that not everybody knows Huyang has been around for 25,000 years. I think only HERA and Ahsoka know. So Sabine and Ezra are kind of shocked to hear this, how much Huyang knew about Kanan Jarrus. But when he finishes building the lightsaber and uses the part that Kanan Jarrus had used himself, and Huyang had saved one extra version of that part, when Ezra uses it, turns on the lightsaber. That lightsaber and the color of that lightsaber is very similar to Kanan Jarrus's lightsaber. So it only makes sense that that seemed to be, if you go back and rewatch the episode now, you can look at that moment and be like, oh, okay, that's a tease to later on when he is reunited with HERA and Chopper, that he is going to train Jason using the lightsaber that mirrors his father's lightsaber, Jason's father's lightsaber, Kanan Jarrus. So I like that as a part of this for sure. So Jim Fan says, since Mando season 2, I thought this was the most complete and satisfying season of Star Wars Disney Plus series. The finale was great. Rocha, how do you feel about Baylan and Shin's motivations not being fully explored? Maybe they'll do it in season 2. Yeah, I gotta say, that is the one. A couple of things kind of irked me a little bit about the finale, even though I thought it was a damn good finale. Certainly not seeing Shin show up at all until the last moment, the Conan moment with the sword above the head coming back to the nomads. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know why she would run to be part of a group of people she just met. In a way, she's a Ronin herself. So she might go fully evil and become a Sith Lord. Who knows? But her going with a bunch of nomads, and nomads, of course, essentially means someone who picks up and goes on their own, walks their own path and goes and wanders and doesn't have a real home. And so it could be interesting that that's what's happening with her. She may become the leader of these nomads, which would make her powerful. And she's on the same planet, Peridia here, as Ahsoka and Sabine, who get stuck on the planet with the Noti. How is that going to play itself out if we go into a season 2 or if we go into the movie? And of course, Baylan, can't ignore that. Baylan showing up at the end with the father here, on the statue of the father. And I wonder if that was on purpose. I wonder if they edited some stuff out, or if this is the way the finale was going to go. Because I agree with you. If this is their original plan for the finale, I'm a little disappointed. I would have liked a little bit more with Shin Hati, a little bit more with Baylan, like her interactions with the nomads when she comes into that camp, something that establishes that she's kind of walking her own path and building her own thing. And what is driving Baylan to find this statue, and what is motivating him to walk out on that ledge, and what is that beacon that he was seeing there in the distance? Was that what he was looking for? Was that what was calling to him? So a lot of questions on that end for sure. I do want to talk about, I'll hit a couple of these in just a second, but I do want to talk about the Morgan Elsbeth situation. You know, I wasn't the biggest fan of Diana Lee Inosanto as an actress throughout this series. I felt like everyone else was delivering much more measured, complex, nuanced, grounded work, and I didn't 100% see that with Diana Lee Inosanto. Still it carried into this episode. But when she got the night magic and became what she became, a night sister there, and what was it that they gave her? What did they give her here? The gift of shadows. They gave her the gift of shadows, and her face changed to mirror the Night Mother, or the Great Mothers rather, and the Night Sisters there. I thought that was a really great moment. And when Thrawn walks up to her and tells her that they need more time because the Jedi are moving too quickly to catch up to them, essentially implying to her, hey, I need you to stay behind and sacrifice yourself so that we can get off this planet. So we can get off this planet. He says, for the Empire, and she says, for Dathomir, right? And I don't think, this is an interesting moment, because you compare that moment with earlier in the episode, when she's turned and she's convinced, she's essentially telling the zombie troopers to give their lives for Thrawn. She tells Thrawn they are all ready to lay down their lives for you, and he's like, oh no, for the Empire, not for me. That fake kind of humility that he has. And then at the end, when he says for the Empire, she says for Dathomir. So I don't think she gives a shit about the Empire. I think for her, she is dedicated to people she respects and admires, and it seems like she respected Thrawn, which is why she was willing to help Thrawn. And of course, heard, as the Night Sisters mentioned a number of times in this episode, heard the calling of the Night Sisters. And so she was driven to be there, but she never once says for the Empire or doing this for the Empire. She's very clearly, it's Thrawn singularly that she's committed to. And then at the end, it's Dathomir that she's committed to, and it's not the Empire. So I kind of like that as an interesting change and nuance to her character, or more of a reveal to her character. I enjoyed that. And the other part of this thing, what I'm getting back to, is her acting here. When she becomes a Night Sister, I think this is the Diana Lee Inosanto I wanted to see throughout the whole show. And maybe this is on purpose. Maybe she acted a certain way so that when she becomes the Night Sister, the adjustment, the much more grounded performance, when she looks at Thrawn, there is some great forehead and eyebrow acting and eyes acting that is going on in that moment when she realizes that Thrawn is telling her that she has to sacrifice herself for him. And that's such a great performance. Nonverbal acting is where you see the really great acting, right? Anyway, most people can deliver a speech and work on a speech and have that moment ready to go and build and really train the speech. But nonverbal reacting acting, where you can make that feel real and you can sense the emotions and they feel real to you when you're watching an actor going through their emotions on their face. And I don't mean overdone emotions. I mean like these small micro emotions. She did a really great job of that. And that tells you that's someone who has real potential to be a damn good actor. And so I like seeing that as a nice new color in her work and her performance as Morgan Elsbeth in that scene. But look, y'all, we got to talk about that samurai scene, battle scene between her and Ahsoka, because that was incredible. I want to have an image up here of them going at it. I thought I had an image of them going at it, but maybe not. I thought I had something pulled up. Pretty incredible stuff with them going at it with each other. I thought that was fantastic to see. And she is using the Blade of Talzin, and the Blade of Talzin, if some of you may know, this is a flaming green sword here, or blade rather, that the Night Sister matriarch, Mother Talzin, summoned from the ether during her duel with Jedi Master Mace Windu during the Clone Wars. This is a shot of that from that scene there. The sword's hilt closely resembled the face of Malmoral, which is the demon worshipped by the Frangal cult. The blade produced from the mouth of the hilt was wreathed in green flames of magical ichor or ichor. I hope I'm saying that right. The sword is also able to resist lightsaber strikes. When Mother Talzin clashed it with Mace Windu's lightsaber, we saw that. So really incredible stuff there to see between those two in Clone Wars, and to see that blade come back given to her, and she wielded it so well. And we know, Diana Leona Santo is related to Bruce Lee, so seeing her get the chance to do some fantastic fight choreography, and I thought Rosario gave as good as she got in the back and forth between both of them. But you can tell Diana's been training to do this a very, very long time, and I'm sure that was an element of casting her all the way back in Mandalorian season 2. They knew down the road, if this all worked out, they would need her for the Ahsoka series, and that she would have a rematch with Ahsoka, and that rematch was so worth the wait. And look, she got the best of her in a number of moments here, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, she was helped by the Night Troopers eventually, but I thought this was a great, great sequence. So much fun to see. Two badass women going at it, and the choreography was not like what you see sometimes in some of these action films where they're like really obvious cuts and they're like going like this and going like that and blah blah blah, like some terrible pro wrestlers you might see sometimes going through things. They were fluid, they were going, and I put it up on my Twitter. My non-spoiler reaction to this episode was from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, when Zhang Zi and Michelle Yao go at it, which I think is a fantastic moment in the film as well. So good to see that as an element of this. It was pretty badass. A lot of samurai, a lot of Japanese stuff here, the Ronin reference, some of the music I think that played throughout. Kevin Kiner's music, yet again, fantastic throughout the episode. I thought really nailed some of the emotional beats, the emotional moments from the beginning when the logo is being played, the sense of dread and doom and the drums that are going on. And then when Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra are coming around with the howlers and riding in underneath the Chimera, there's some great triumphant music that happens there as well. And when Morgan is becoming, in essence, a Night Sister, the music cues that are playing are subtle. That's really smart by the editing there. And I don't know if Kevin suggested that or if the editor suggested that, but they turn the volume down so that you sense the dread of what's happening and the visuals of what's happening to her, but then the music is just giving you a little bit right underneath, just pulsating underneath. Really smart usage of that there by the people involved with the show. I thought that was fantastic. So let's see what else have we got here in terms of Streamlabs and super chat. Stam Hemphill says, yes, anyone can turn. I see the dark side of the Force like being seduced by hard drugs. Wow. You find yourself not being able to control yourself once the addiction sets in. Okay, I think I can accept that as a description for the Force, or for the dark side of the Force, certainly, but I mean, taking drugs, that's a choice, right? You're choosing to ingest that, knowing that, well, at least for people who are aware of drugs, knowing what that can do to you, you're choosing to do it. Whereas I think being seduced by the dark side is something different. I think the dark side doesn't come on all at once. It's a slow change, right? And certainly we've seen that in people, famous people that we know, who we thought believed one way about things. And as they got older or as they experienced things, they changed and became much more in connection with their darker sides of themselves, saying some pretty mean stuff, some horrible stuff, some terrible anti-rhetoric, whether it's anti-LGBTQ or anti women's rights or anti anything you want to throw in there. We see them kind of going that way. And that feels to me like being seduced by the dark side. And so if you're laughing about someone making fun of someone's disabilities or someone making fun of someone's pain, making fun of someone's terrible life situation, or scoffing at them or thinking they're lesser than you simply because you were born on one side of a line that's drawn in the sand, that to me is sliding into the dark side, to be honest with you. And that to me is a progression. And so we've seen that certainly happen, in my opinion, recently in our lives for sure. Let's see here. But the hard drugs, I don't think I can 100% say no to that. So I think that's an interesting way to look at it, Stan, for sure. Fredtastic says, I was starting to worry about the episode when the zombie troopers were activated, but thankfully Sabine's force push happened and reminded me of him and Kanan. The Ahsoka Morgan fight was badass too. Yeah, talked about that already, Fred. But yeah, worry about the zombie troopers. I thought were really cool. I think, look, Filoni was going to go out there. You knew Filoni was going to go out there. So the zombie troopers, for me, I thought worked really well. I loved hearing zombie sounds out of stormtroopers' mouths. And listen, you got to earn that moment. You got to deliver a really good series so that when that moment happens, someone isn't going, fuck this, and walking out of the room. You've got to deliver a good series, and I think they did. So they earned that moment of the zombie troopers. I was smiling because I was like, oh, this is awesome. And certainly Rosario Dawson's reaction, or Ahsoka Tano's reaction to the zombie troopers, I thought was great. Sabine's reaction, Ezra's reaction, that fear, and we got into a mini zombie movie there as they were running up the stairs, trying to get the doors to come down. The zombies were cutting through the doors and just were relentless, coming and coming and coming. And then eventually killing Morgan, they were able to kill the dark magic of the night troopers and kill all of them. We saw Sabine and Ezra almost get killed by the night troopers there. And one of them was choking Sabine. Sabine finally using the force, because we don't know if she was able to open the door with Ahsoka and Ezra. Certainly had her hand out, but was she able to open the door? We don't know. We really know she has the force when she uses it to open the lightsaber, or to get the lightsaber and then turn it on into that a zombie trooper's head, which I thought was great. And then eventually Ezra gets his lightsaber and decapitates. And it's Disney, so we're going to go behind a pillar and we'll just see a head bouncing out. So kind of smartly done. And don't forget, Rebels got dark in certain moments. So in certain episodes, certain scenes. So to me, I was not surprised to see a little darkness in the show, because Rebels has some darkness to it, which I really enjoyed seeing as well. So that was cool to see Sabine. I thought that was earned too. Her getting her force and being able to use the force, I thought that was really earned. Tim Sim also says the two biggest questions: will Disney Lucasfilm greenlight a season 2 in light of the actor strike and Disney's downtrodden year? And who will play Baylan next after Rey's passing, if not CGI? Yeah, this is a really good question. I totally think they should greenlight a season 2. I think Vogel on the Geek Buddies last week said it, like, there is too much they still need to have happen in order to bring everybody together to go after Thrawn, if Thrawn is the overall big baddie. So I do think they'll greenlight a season 2, because I think the reactions to the show have been very, very positive. Yeah, there have been some detractors, so some people trying to get hits and likes off YouTube, saying some pretty negative stuff about the show. More power to them. Go make your money. But to me, I think overall it's been received really, really well from the fans, and we'll see if they'll do it. And I think the actor strike will be resolved here in the next couple of weeks. So I think that's not a problem to greenlight that. It's certainly going to give a lot of time to create it. And with the writer strike being done, Tim, certainly the writers like Dave Filoni can start working on the scripts. So it's not a matter of being unable to greenlight it. Certainly the scripts can be in motion if that's where he wants to go. If not, it's the movie. So we'll see if that's the thing in motion next. And the Baylan situation is really interesting, because I mean, there's plenty. I say, like Kevin said last week on Jedi Way, like there's a lot of people saying, let's have who did he say? Oh, Gerard Butler step in for Ray Stevenson. But I don't know if I necessarily want to see a recast. I want to see a recast of Cara Dune, but I don't know if I want to see a recast of Baylan, because I like Baylan, and I wouldn't mind if they used a little bit of CGI, a little bit of the voice altering stuff just for some lines maybe, and it's just like a little dash usage to kind of get and let us have a goodbye with him. Maybe there's a Shin Hati moment, her with him, and there's some kind of closure there. I don't know, but maybe something. But a recasting, I guess you could go down that road. I suppose he's changed from having interactions with whatever's out there, whatever the beacon is, that's wherever he's being led to there. So I guess you could get away with it. I just would have a hard time with it, because people really, really love Rey in that role for sure. Empire Fan 1980 says, when Ezra came out of the ship, I thought for a second it was Cal Kestis. I really want to see Starkiller in live action and see Cal in live action one day. Yeah, a lot of people want to see that. But no way were they dropping Cal Kestis right as the last beat of a finale for Ahsoka. That was asking way too much of the show. There was no way they would have done that, because people would have been like, who the fuck is that? And I think that's the last thing they wanted there. And you want to have Ezra now with HERA and Chopper going after Sabine and Ahsoka to save them, and Sabine and Ahsoka finding their way off the planet, maybe battling Shin Hati, maybe battling Baylan or whatever he's got cooking over there. So a lot of things. So there's three fronts. There's Thrawn, where he's at on Dathomir. There's the New Republic there, what's going on with HERA and Ezra and Chopper, and then there's Huyang, Sabine, and Ahsoka and the Noti. They're on Peridia with Shin Hati and Baylan. So there's a lot of places things can go for sure, man. But no way were they introducing Cal Kestis right at the end. Fantastic says Ahsoka did an around the way apology to Sabine and saying she'll stay by her side no matter what. I liked it. Yeah, that was a really great moment out on the wing between them after Huyang had told, he was talking to Ezra. What did he say? Yes, the relationship between master and apprentice is as challenging as it is meaningful. And I thought that was a really smart moment. And listen, guys, that also applies to you and your parents, right? Like, you and your parents, or a father figure or a boss in your life that's been a mentor, that master and apprentice situation is just challenging as it is meaningful. If you focus on just the negative stuff, and I'm talking standard negative stuff. I'm not talking like overtly evil or negative behavior by some parents, certainly by some bosses and by some mentors. I'm talking about like normal, like, oh, they might yell at you in a certain moment, once every 6 months or something, little things like that. And you got to understand, yeah, it's a little challenging. Maybe they're not explaining anything to you. Maybe they get frustrated with you because you're not learning quick enough. That is the whole situation, but they're trying to teach you something. So the meaningfulness comes from that, is they are trying to impart their wisdom, their knowledge onto you, but are you going to take it? Are you going to get, and you've got to go at your own pace. Everyone goes at their own pace in order to absorb it. So I thought that was a really nice moment. So Sabine had kind of had, how can I say this? Sabine had kind of had the wheels greased a little bit. So when she walked out on the wing of Ahsoka's ship and Ahsoka's up there meditating or whatever, they actually could have a heart-to-heart about all of it. Now, I know a lot of us were predicting that they'd go at it. Oh, sorry, they'd be pissed off at each other and whatever. And oh, you did this, you brought Thrawn back. But I think Ahsoka had a really nice perspective on this, saying, look, I kind of made some decisions and nobody understood where I was coming from except my master, except Anakin. And he stood by my side. He always believed in me. And I think that was a nice reference to what happened with, with the bomb in the temple, with Barriss Offee. So that was a nice reference to that, I thought, for those people who've seen Clone Wars. And so I liked that was an out. But of course, there are other episodes and other missions that Ahsoka went on where Anakin stood by her and all of that. So that was really cool to see. All right, I'm going to take a quick break, y'all, because we're at the 30-minute mark, and I'm going to jump back in and talk a little bit more about the episode before I wrap up here, and I'll be right back right after this. All right, I had to get a little bit of water into my throat here. Let's see, is there anything else I missed from the first section here? Certainly the cargo transfer, right? We start with the cargo transfer, and we kind of sort of semi-end with the cargo transfer as we see Thrawn coming towards Dathomir, and we see that the cargo is really important to Thrawn. So that's what is in the cargo. Do you guys have any guesses of what's in the cargo. What do you think's in those containers? What is he bringing there? It's very interesting to me. I don't know what we're going to get in those containers, but it should be fun to see once that gets revealed. Do you guys have any guesses? Does anyone have any guesses? That would be interesting to see if there's anything there that I haven't thought of to consider for all of this. So, right, okay. So let's see. Sabine disappears. Ezra, yeah, right. Sabine steps out on the wing ship. We talked about that. The two TIE fighters taking it down. I thought the action sequences were really well done in this episode. From the fight with the TIE fighters rather, and then the ship being launched there by Sabine into those two fighters, and then the blasting down onto the Earth as they're onto the planet of Pretty there as they're riding through and riding all around. I thought that was great. The action sequence with seeing all three of them together, I thought was pretty badass as well. That I really enjoyed seeing from them and all of them together. Sabine, Ezra, and Ahsoka, they're pulling their lightsabers and looking pretty badass. I thought that was cool to see as well. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun seeing things that seeing the battles that came about here with everybody on the show and the way they were going about everything. I thought that was so cool to see on so many levels that I really enjoyed. What about you guys? Did you guys love seeing Sabine and Ezra together here and with Ahsoka and them battling those night troopers and seeing all the things they could confront and get past and go around and working together as a team? Or did it feel kind of cheesy Scooby-Doo gang getting together to fight type of thing? What did you guys think about it? How did you feel about it overall? Let's see here. Morgan's recruiting. Oh, yeah, the volunteers. Then the Ahsoka says you can't be alone. Try the front door. Right. They fight together. The lightsabers are out. Oh, the zombies. Let's talk about the zombies because I saw Doug, I remember Doug sending in the Streamlab just a few minutes ago about the zombies. So the zombies are brought back to life when the chant of resurrection is spoken. Luceno, Vadem, Clavelan, and there's some more. You can, if you watch it with subtitles, it'll have it, everything. It'll have the words there. This was first seen in the Clone Wars, but is also a part of the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game. So this is canon. This chant of resurrecting things in a zombie type form is canon within Star Wars, depending on where you go. So that was really interesting to see be a part of this. So just so you know, this has canon connections. They didn't just come up with zombie stormtroopers for this particular show to show the power of the dark magic and what have you. So I think that was a very important thing to take a look at as well. Let's see. Is there anything? Let's hit some more of these Streamlabs. I want to make sure I don't miss, or super chats. I don't miss anything. Fredtastic says Ahsoka did an around the way pilot ride. We talked about that already. Empire Fan 19 says I didn't love the series. I can't wait to see Sabine and Mando meet. That will be fun. Also thought at one moment Sabine and Ezra were going to kiss. Yeah, there was a moment there where something was kind of spoken between them. But I'll tell you what, the moment where Sabine has to convince Ezra to jump across and then she uses the Force to send Ezra forward, that was awesome. Okay, that was an awesome moment. As cool as the fight scene, the lightsaber sword or blade scene there between Ahsoka and Morgan was, I thought that moment was pretty badass as well. And I was kind of wondering if Sabine was going to do it. Remember, Sabine, Ezra's like, go, come on, let's go. And so you think Sabine jumped, but of course, that earlier conversation on the wing of the ship, I'll never leave you, never leave you. That is Ahsoka to Sabine. Sabine probably remembered that in that moment and stayed behind to help Ahsoka because now they're connected. Now, whatever their issues were before, and I think what Sabine did to save Ezra or to go back for Ezra, I think that proved to Ahsoka that she wants to use her powers for good, that Sabine is inherently a good person, and that revenge may have been the motivation for her to learn to be a Jedi. The way she would use the Force, the way she would use her abilities would be for good and to help people. And of course, she might have an occasional misstep or stumble or what have you. It happens. Ahsoka's had those. Anakin's had those. Kenobi's had those. Inherently, though, she would be using her Jedi abilities for good, or Force abilities, rather, for good, and her Jedi training for good. And I thought that was a nice little kind of closing of the circle of those issues by having her stay behind and help Ahsoka and stay behind on Pretty with Ahsoka. I thought that was really cool to see. And what an ending there with those two, right? Looking out onto the valley there, and she says that she sees starlight, right? And I think this is really interesting when she says that, because what did I want to? I wanted to show you guys something. She says, "I thought I saw shadows in starlight," and I am going to bring this up because this is a classic Disney. They absolutely cross paths with their stuff all the time, so no surprise that they figured out how to do this and have some synergy in the whole situation. Let me see if I can bring this up, because I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I was like, wait, this sounds familiar, what they're trying to say with this. And so I was not surprised that they found a way to move this in. I'm going to bring it up here. This is the new High Republic book that is coming out tomorrow. And Sabine said, "Oh, I thought I saw some shadows in starlight," right? Well, here is the book cover, and it is Shadow of Starlight from Star Wars: The High Republic. This comes out tomorrow. So to me, this feels like they knew what they were doing. They were trying to kind of promote, do some synergy here by having Sabine utter that line. And then that is the title of the book from the new High Republic, or the rest of the High Republic series, coming out tomorrow. So clearly some synergy going on there between Disney and whatever. So what's going on? Is someone making are there some problems in the chat, guys? Is anybody being ridiculous? I want to make sure there's nobody being ridiculous. Yes, Dance TJ2K2 says, "Hit Disney plug here." Yeah, I mean, what can I tell you? They did the same thing. Remember when was it in the Rise of Skywalker, or was it? Yeah, it was Rise of Skywalker, where she could heal in a certain way, and that mirrored what was happening in the Mandalorian episode, I think it was, and where Rey could heal someone in a certain way using the Force, and that was kind of a new thing the Force could do, and they made a big deal about it. But I did like seeing them out on the prairie, in essence, for lack of a better term, looking out and seeing the shadows in starlight. I wonder if that's a High Republic reference. Certainly, there are rumors that we're going to be getting a High Republic movie that may be Mangold's movie, although it is the birth of the Jedi, might also be connected to the High Republic in a way. So a nice way to keep that all kind of in the conversation, maybe a subtle nod or wink to it. But then seeing Anakin's Force Ghost, I thought that was a nice surprise. They kind of mirrored the end of Return of the Jedi, having the Force Ghost at the end of Kenobi, where Qui-Gon Jinn shows up as a Force Ghost. So I think Ahsoka saw him, but there was no interaction. And Sabine sensed him, but couldn't quite see him, because why would she, right? Because she has no connection to Anakin, but she sensed something. And certainly earlier in the episode, they tease that, or they talk about, HUYANG does, that Sabine, if she was ever to realize how powerful she actually is, could be dangerous. You're not dangerous unless you're really powerful. And so clearly there is more story to tell on Sabine. Sabine may become one of these characters that it becomes as revered as Ahsoka down the road. There's very real possibilities of where we can go. There's some exciting possibilities of where we can go with Sabine, certainly by some of the things they're alluding to. So I thought that was really cool that she sensed that. So yeah, so I like that overall. Ezra was an interesting. I mean, I thought Eman Esfandi did a nice job with Ezra throughout the series, but I also think there wasn't enough Ezra. That was the second thing that kind of bothered me a little bit about this episode. Again, I loved the episode. I just had an issue with not having enough BAYLAN, not having enough SHIN HATI. But I would also say I would like a little more Ezra. I wanted to see a little more. Where's the angst? What have you been doing for the last few years? What has been going on here? What have you learned? Talk to me about your interactions with Thrawn. Yeah, there's a mention that when Thrawn first got here, he found this area and found the Night Sisters and woke them up, and he realized it wasn't a place you could go to alone. Right? He built a ship, rebuilt the ship, and what have you. So I get that, but that was it. So I think I wish there had been more reveals about Ezra's time what he was doing, what his reaction was when everything first happened. There was no mention of the Purrgil again. There was no conversation about the Purrgil that much. So I just wanted a little more with Ezra, because it seemed like, oh, I know it's called Ahsoka, but if Ezra's the motivation to go and get him, it would have been interesting to see more about what the end result of all of that is and what Ezra was doing and what he learned while he was there on the planet. So, I mean, again, Eman Esfandi did a nice job with the portrayal. I just wanted a little more levels and some more interesting colors to Ezra as a character. And maybe we'll get that down the road. I just thought there was a little more. James Robinson, you're asking for too much. We didn't need all of that. Well, I did. You may not have, but I did. Then who's the we? Who are you speaking for, James? Who did you anoint yourself as the representative of? Just speak from your own point of view, brother. There's no need to be going in there. Yeah, I know it's not the Ezra show, but if Ezra is the thing they're going to go get, you've got to make that thing valuable. And I think there was more that could have been here that I would have really enjoyed seeing. I liked what we got, but he became one note. And that to me, or one dimensional, and I would have liked to see more. Yeah, there was the great moment with him and HUYANG in the ship there when they're building the lightsaber. That was just a tease of what more we could have gotten. His reaction to the name Kanan Jarrus, his reaction to knowing that or hearing that HUYANG knew Kanan when he was Caleb and a young Padawan, he knew him. So there was an emotion that came out of Eman Esfandi that I thought was great to see. There was a nice color, and I would like to have seen more. And there's nothing wrong with asking for more. Y'all need to be okay with that. I mean, I'm sure there are some of you that had issues with certain things. I just wanted more Ezra. I wanted to see more of that because it's not the Sabine show. It's called Ahsoka, but we got a shit ton of Sabine, didn't we? So I mean, we got more HUYANG than we got Ezra, and so I would have liked to have seen more HERA than we got of Ezra. Again, just would have liked to have seen a little bit more on that end. Let's see here. He was a third. He wasn't even a third wheel. He was like fifth or sixth wheel. Don Ramon. Let's see what else we've got here in terms of Streamlabs. Tim Sim says Ahsoka as a show so far has been a great addition to Star Wars. Rewarding for those who watched Clone Wars and Rebels, but gives a challenging learning curve for those who haven't. My rating is 4.3 out of 5. All right, fair enough, Tim. Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I've talked to a couple of people who've never seen Rebels or Clone Wars and are enjoying the series, and they're not feeling it as deeply. Some of those moments, obviously, because they don't have the connections from the shows, but they're certainly enjoying the way it's been constructed. I think overall, this is a damn good series. It's not the greatest thing ever. There was a possibility, especially episodes 4 through 6, for this to be a transcendent series. But I think the last 2 episodes kind of brought it back down to like Star Wars, fun Star Wars with stakes that I thought was great to see. But, Andor still remains my number one. I love Andor. You're never going to talk me out of Andor. Let's see if we've got any more Streamlabs that have come through. Yes, Salahuddin says, is it just me or did Rosario Dawson's fight choreography speed up as the season progressed? In my opinion, her Jedi skills went from meh to awesome by the finale. Well, let's look at that. I thought this is a great question, Salahuddin. This is a great question. When you're constructing a show and when you're an actor and when you're a writer, you're creating a character. And what's great about character is that character can change and evolve. Now, if you're judging a show week by week, it can feel like, well, why did they make the change? And what happened here? How's it so good? You can have all these questions about it, but there's a plan. And certainly they felt from the beginning that there was a certain Ahsoka that was going to be presented in the first couple episodes of the show, but that was not going to be the Ahsoka we ended up with. All right. Now, to be very rudimentary, we all know this. Those of you who are seasoned watchers of TV and film, characters, good ones, have arcs, especially if your name, as some people pointed out, is you're the titular character of the show, Ahsoka. You got to have an arc. All right. The 9 times out of 10, you got 9.75 times out of 10, you got to have an arc. And so she has this arc. And so her Jedi skills initially are a little meh, maybe because emotionally she's being held back. She's aloof. She's distant. She's not going to connect to people because she's still processing everything that's happened with Anakin, everything that's happened in her journeys as essentially a Ronin, which is a masterless samurai. And so her skills are going to be different, right? Then as she achieves closure, as she lets go of some of those things, she becomes much more free. And in becoming much more free, the body takes note of what the spirit and the emotion and the brain and the emotion and the heart are doing. And the body then gets in rhythm with those feelings and is much more looser. So by the end, you see a much more freer Ahsoka kicking ass because she has more access. And notice she was smiling a lot in the last few episodes, the last couple of 2 or 3 episodes. Every time she went into battle, she had that smirk and that smile in the middle of the battle, at the beginning of the battle, and then by the end of the battle. And I thought that was great to see. You know, she has a peace, calmness. And most times when you're in that state of calm, you can be the best version of yourself. And so seeing her progress in that way, I think made sense. And that's how they intended it to be, Salahuddin. So I bet the writers or the creators of the show are probably glad you caught that as a difference in her approach. Stan Hemphill says, I know you don't want to recast for Baylan, but a recast using Kevin McKidd from Rome has some poetry to it. Oh, that's a great suggestion, Stan. Yeah, for those who don't know, Rome was a series that was on HBO way back in the early 2000s. Kevin McKidd, who went on to become or be in ER, he and Ray Stevenson were centurion and soldier, right? Or was he? He was like a lord. I guess Kevin McKidd was like a version of a lord in Rome, and Ray Stevenson was a soldier. So he was a higher rank. Kevin was higher rank, and Ray Stevenson was a soldier, and they essentially became friends. I think Ray helped him or saved him in some battle moment, and they became friends. And that was like a part of the whole show. Their issue with coming from different ranks, but then also what gets involved and what things they discover as they go through these different adventures together. So having Kevin McKidd slide in, he looks nothing like Ray Stevenson, so I don't know if it would work, but it's a nice thought, Stan, for sure, because I love him in that. Salahuddin says, I'm getting sick of the volume. Give me a location shoot in natural sunlight, for God's sakes. Guys, you got to make up your mind. Some people hated Andor because it was too real and too grungy, too dirty, too down to earth. And then we go to the volume and you're like, I'm sick of the volume. So, you know, there's got to be a balance here. I didn't mind the volume. Certainly there's certain moments like when the ship was crashed and we see Sabine walking towards us, pretty obvious that was the volume. But I thought when the blasts were going down onto Peridia, I thought that worked really well. Although you could tell it was the volume, it was much more seamless, which I enjoyed watching overall. So I hear you. You're not the only one, obviously. And who knows? Maybe in the future for a new season, they'll do a location shoot in natural sunlight. But look, man, we're out in space. We're out on new planets. So they're going to take some license in certain ways. But I didn't mind it as much in this season. But totally respect the fact that you did, Salahuddin. Justin Soner says, just up, Justin. He says, hey, John, I just finished the finale. I enjoyed it with just a few criticisms. They need to announce season 2 soon because I want more. So sad we lost Ray. I hope Baylan is recast as well. Okay, so you want to recast. Jaw dropped at the Mortis God statues. No hug between Ezra and HERA? Boo. Yeah, I know a lot of people seem to have an issue with this. I think HERA was just shocked. Remember, it's been years since Ezra has been there and she's seen him. And remember, Ezra's connection to Kanan. That's a lot of emotion. You know, it's bringing up the loss of her husband, the loss of the love of her life, the father of her child. And so maybe running to hug him is not necessarily HERA's instinct. And I don't know what HERA's species would do specifically in a moment like that. We've seen HERA hug in the animated show for sure, and certainly in a very embrace, warm hug. I was a little upset we didn't get Zeb showing up for any reason in the show. It would have been nice to see Zeb pop up in that end moment and Zeb pick him up, and then Hera walks over after Chopper's already noticed who he is. But I hear your argument. I totally hear your argument, Justin, that we could have gotten more. But yes, the Mortis statues, initially I didn't know what it was, Justin. I'll be honest with you. I saw the statue, I was like, oh, that's an old man with a beard. And I was just like looking at it, and I went, that's an old man with a beard. And it was just like that. It was like DiCaprio, right? It was like that for me. And I thought that was cool to see because I have no idea what that's going to lead to. Does he become the father? Because remember, Anakin rejected that. So will now BAYLAN become that? We have the sister in Ahsoka. So who is there a brother that we're going to get to finish this? Will Ezra be that? I don't know. A lot of questions. All right. Let's see. We got some more of these Streamlabs and super chats to bring up. All right, you already did that one. Oh yeah, Guillaume Labelle says, I thought the finale was pretty good, but disappointed that Ezra was briefed on Thrawn off screen. Would have been interesting to see his reaction. Yes, right? As I said, we needed more Ezra. We needed more Ezra interactions. We needed Ezra talking about this stuff. We needed to see Ezra figuring this stuff out. We needed to see Ezra doing things. Would have liked some more of that for sure. It would have been interesting to see that with Ezra. But yes, I agree with you. We needed more time with Eman Esfandi, and maybe with season 2 we'll have, because I think they're going to do a season 2. It seems pretty obvious they're going to do season 2 because you've got to give more time to Ezra and Hera so those two can have a little more of a solidified live action type of situation for those of us who are fans of these characters and of those shows. Get them a little more time so we can establish them a little more firmly. So when we go into battle against Thrawn, we're understanding them and we're feeling the stakes for every character involved in the battle. I think that would be great. So for sure. Let's see. Aboleth theory must be true, right? Is that what you're asking about? The Aboleth theory? Let's bring that up and see if that is true as a part of Star Wars. Chilling theory suggests that Ahsoka is bringing back Aboleth, the most powerful dark side being from Star Wars Legends, as the true villain. Baylan Skull believes that Peridea holds the key to changing the balance of the Force forever, and he is drawn to a powerful presence calling him there. So that could be a possibility for sure, that Aboleth may be a part of this in the end. So certainly seeing him being drawn to some light there, that is some beacon there, could be interesting to see. And he seems very obsessed with that. And certainly that's a dark place where people get called to do things who are prone to listening to the dark voices, just as Morgan Elsbeth was when listening to the Night Sisters. So that's a very real possibility for sure. So we could be seeing that in all around. And if you guys don't know who Aboleth is, one of the most powerful entities ever seen in either canon or Legends, known as the bringer of chaos in Legends. Aboleth was once a servant of the Mortis gods who became the mother. Remember people asking, like, where's the mother? Helping keep the balance between the light and the dark sides that they embodied. Aboleth sought immortality, and though successful, the quest tragically led to her corruption. The Mortis gods imprisoned Aboleth in the Maw, the black hole cluster near Kessel, seen in Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's entirely possible a canon version of Aboleth was instead exiled to Peridea, a place from which she could not return. Even Purrgil only come to Peridea to die. Just as in Legends, Aboleth could have been affected by changes in the balance of the Force, notably by the rising dark side as Palpatine ascended to power. If this is indeed the case, then she is stirring, reaching out with her power to ensure she is freed from her prison. And look, a lot of people have been saying that Thrawn isn't necessarily the overall big bad, so Aboleth could be the overall big bad in this, which would be very interesting to see, because Thrawn doesn't come across in this series as this unbeatable person. Certainly we have the moment here. Lars Mikkelsen plays it so well when Ahsoka and Ezra and Sabine are moving closer and getting victories as they're getting closer to him. He's a little like, he does a little like pursing of the lips and a little like son of a bitch type of moment. And so certainly he is not as infallible as we like our overall villains to be in Star Wars. So Aboleth could make sense, especially with Baylan there, especially with the Mortis gods, especially with Morai. We see Morai in the show there with Ahsoka near the end. So there's more here. And what will Anakin's role in all of this, if they open the door to this, What will Anakin's role be in a season 2? Will there be more scenes with him and Ahsoka, Force Ghost to Jedi, having a conversation about all the stuff going on here with Aboleth and what it all means? So, and who's going to play Aboleth? That'd be real interesting to see as well. Kind of similarity to Hela, right? Like in Thor: Love and Thunder, Odin couldn't control her anymore in her bloodlust, so he locked her away, and then she comes back when Odin dies. So maybe Aboleth, sensing a darkness in the Force, is now being called to come back and uses Baylan, an old Jedi Knight, to find her way back for sure. So yeah, the interesting stuff there. I think that's. Is there anything? Oh, John, I quote tweeted you someone's post with a shot from, I think, Clone Wars in it with a knife sisters maybe holding. Oh yeah, I already put it up, Edward. Where have you been? I already put it up, Ed. It's right here. I put it up already, Haskell. I put it up near the beginning of the show, brother man. So maybe you got here a little bit late, but yeah, I put that up. That is the Blade of Talzin, and that is the Night Sister there. The Night Sister matriarch, Mother Talzin, who is using that. She summoned the blade from the ether there. So yeah, I put that up earlier in the show, brother man. But yes, thank you for quote tweeting that. Appreciate that. Yeah, Haunted_Adam says Shin got left behind for a reason. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And Haunted as I sent a super or two in a super chat. Did you? Let me see, Haunted. I just no, I don't. Oh, here we go. He says Ezra is where he should be as a Jedi, refusing the lightsaber at first. Luminous beings, luminous beings are we? As Yoda said, yet eager to build eager to build his own lightsaber when he got the chance. He is evolving. Yeah, of course, because he didn't need the lightsaber being out there in Peridia now because he gave it to Sabine. Now that he has access to build a lightsaber, he's going into battle. So he has that moment with HUYANG building the lightsaber, which I thought was really cool. So it makes sense. He's evolving out of necessity. The moment calls for it. The situation calls for it. So he's going to what he knows so he can protect himself. And he does a nice job with that lightsaber, by the way, considering he hasn't trained in a while, as he told Sabine last episode. And Tim says, by the way, seeing Force Ghost Anakin at the end confirms for me that we saw the redeemed Anakin post Return of the Jedi in the World Between Worlds. I don't know. I don't know yet. Maybe. I'm not willing to make any of those strong statements yet because we don't know how the World Between Worlds works with Force Ghosts. And we don't know if Sabine or Ahsoka actually saw Anakin because there's no interaction between them. There's just her looking out that way, him looking back, and a little smile creeping in his face as she turns around and walks back. So we don't know if she saw him. So we don't know how that's working. But it could be very possible, Tim, what you're saying, that it is the redeemed Anakin there in the World Between Worlds, but we shall see for sure. All right. My thing is Sabine had to get choked to death to feel the Force. Did you not see Blue Beetle needing to jump off the building in order to become Blue Beetle? Sometimes that's when we're most open and available to get in touch with our power, is when we're threatened. And so I kind of liked that moment. You don't want to cheer for anybody getting choked, but I liked that it was what forced her to make the move. Very similar to Arya's move with is it the White King? It's been so long since I watched Game of Thrones. The King of the White Walkers, when she drops the blade and then jams him with that move. So yeah. Let's see. Everything else, I think that's all. Yeah, Haunted, I got your stuff. So thanks for sending your things in. I appreciate it. Is there anything more you guys want? Night King, that's right, the Night King. Yeah. Is there anything more you guys want me to talk about? Because I feel like we've covered everything. And remember, we've got 2 spoiler reviews coming for the Geek Buddies tomorrow, live at 3 p.m. I should put this up live at 3 p.m. Oh, I should take that down. Where's the chat here? There we go. Live at 3 p.m. tomorrow, we will be doing our review. 3 p.m. PT, 3 p.m. PT. Put it on your channel. Put it on your calendar. And we'll announce when we're doing the Jedi Way spoiler review as well. Laura and Kevin have been fantastic in breaking this thing down. And of course, Mike and Shannon have been a lot of fun to break it down with as well. So look for that 3 p.m. PT tomorrow on this channel. Come join us. And then the Jedi Way at some point. We also have Loki coming up. So look for that. I did a reaction. I watched all 4 episodes. So I'll put that reaction up in the morning. So look for that. But I also recorded myself watching the episodes. And I've got to find an editor to do that for me so that I can put that out as well. But look for those coming up in the next few days. Of course, the hot mic on Thursday, and probably a spoiler review for Loki coming up on Friday or Saturday. So a lot of stuff happening in the world of the Outlaw Nation. Thank you all so much for joining me live here on the channel. I appreciate it madly. You guys are amazing. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, hit that bell button so you see we're dropping all the content we do. Leave all your comments down below. Is there anything I missed? Anything you wanted me to talk about? Please let me know. I'm always open to hear what you all have to say. Haunted_Autumn says, thanks, Rocha. I'll be there for the Geek Buddies Live. That's awesome. And if you want to follow me, it's at the Rocha Says. You can see down there, Rocha Says, at the Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, the Outlaw Nation on Twitch. And my podcasts, the Cinephiles, the Top 10, no, not Top 10, Cinephiles, the Geek Buddies, and the Hot Mic. They're out there for you all to subscribe to. And don't forget to subscribe to the Outlaw Nation podcast, where you can channel where you can have all the shows that we do here there on the audio feed for you all to listen to as well. All right, thanks so much for hanging out with me. You guys are the best. I love you all madly. We're done with another Star Wars series as we march to the next one and to possibly the next movie down the road here. So Skeleton Crew, I think, is the next one. So definitely come back and join me for that when those start airing as well. All right, be well. Take care of yourself. May the Force be with you. I'll talk to you next time with another brand new reaction video here on the Outlaw Nation. Peace.